Hello, everybody. It's Valerie from Valerie Wallace Fine Arts, and I'm here in my basement studio in Orono, Maine, 04473. And tonight at our live Zoom art class, we are going to do either a painting or a drawing, or I don't know, maybe you want to knit a sweater that looks like this. I don't know. Autumn landscape that probably has a mountain that looks like Katahdin, which is the super big mountain that we have in Maine. So basically what I have are two of everything except the brown. And then, so two yellows, two reds, and two blues. I have green and blue. I have yellow and blue. That's to make the green for the trees. So if you have green, then just go ahead and use the green that you have instead. We're gonna make green and we're gonna add a little brown to it. That's gonna make it a little more of a forest green. But you can just take your green, phthalo green, hooker's green, whatever basic green you have, it'll be fine. Okay. For the drawing, I have the sky. I'm going to use some light pink. I don't know if you can see it. You can't really see it. Well, light pink. Okay. And I have a gold. Actually, that's not the gold I'm using, but I'm going to use a gold. That's going to be what I'm going to use for the beach. I'm going to have a little orange for my beautiful trees. I have a light, bright yellowy orange. It's actually a little more orange than this looks, but okay. That's going to be on the trees as well. I have a dark olive green for my trees. And I'm going to use this sienna for the shading on the trees. So if you have a sienna, or if you have like maroon, and then I have a blue like this for my mountains, which is kind of hard to see the color of it. I'm going to take you through this picture in a really simple, basic way with the intention of you being able to paint it or draw it in about an hour. Okay, enough that you're going to get down a little information about everything that's in the picture. That's maybe all you want to do, but as a painter, that's usually not the end of it. Usually I'm going to go back and I'm going to work again, depending on how big the pieces that I'm working on. But, you know, this is an 11 by 14. And, you know, I would always work a couple of hours on something. But the first round is to just get it on there. So don't get too caught up in the details. And if you've printed out the picture and you see all kinds of fancy stuff, try to think simply, because all those details and all that good stuff comes at the end. But we're actually going to start with a sky, and you can make the sky any color that you want to. Okay, in the original painting it's light blue, but I made it pink just because for fun. So like I said, so what I'm going to do is mix up a little bit of pink, and we're going to draw the line of the mountains in the color you're going to use for the sky. Okay, because then that line will just brush up into the top part of your picture. Okay, rather than doing it in blue and then go painting the sky, we'll just do it like that. It's a little back. It might seem a little awkward at first, but that'll be fine. Okay. There's nothing really fancy in the sky, so there's really no reason to get the peak of this mountain halfway down here with a whole. I mean, not to say that you couldn't do something fun with the sky, but in this picture, there's nothing really fun happening. Okay, so I've got my medium-sized brush. It's this small. It looks big when I put it up close, but it's really just this big. I want to make a really pale pink. If you like pink and you want to make it brighter, make it brighter. If you want to make it blue, make it blue. If you want purple, if you want it green, I don't care. You can do whatever you want. But that's how we're going to draw the skyline on. I mean the roof line, not the roof line, the mountain range. Okay, not too much. I got a little bit of red. Better a little bit, and then add more. I'm going to take it and put it in one of these these whites. If you're using painted tube, you want to get a little water in there. It probably wouldn't hurt to get a little water in there anyway. If you like the watercolor style, put a lot of water in, and then you should use less paint. Okay, this is what we're going to do, you guys. We're going to start with a dot for this peak of for this part of the mountain, and then we're going to have a dot for this part of the mountain. Okay. That's what we're going to do first. So I'm going to look at, this is about maybe a third in. So I'm going to take maybe a third of my page, and I'm going to put a dot right here, which you probably cannot see. Right? Can you guys see that? Not. Okay, so I'm going to make it a little darker. Hopefully you can see that. I'm going to make a dot for this. It's a little bit lower than the first dot, but again, about a third maybe in like this. Okay, so a little lower. Okay, I'll do that with my pastel as well. So I'm going to go down, not too far. I'm going to go in about a third, maybe like right here. I'm going to go over here in about a third and a little bit lower than this one. So when I connect, it's going to slope down a little bit. We're just going very simple in the beginning. Okay, that's this guy right here. All right, let's go over here on the left first. So what it does is from that point, it drops down a little tiny bit and then it kind of slides out to the side. So you're going to drop down a little bit and then you're just going to go up to the side. All right, I'll do that here. If you drop down a lot, that's all right. If you know, it's all the, you know, getting those things. I mean, who cares? It doesn't matter. You know, it's going to look like a mountain. It's going to look like autumn trees. It doesn't matter if it looks like this mountain or not. Who cares? No one cares. Or you can practice and you'll get better and you'll do it. The next time you do it, you'll have better luck. I don't know if you can see it, but there's a little bit of a smile shape right here. So you're just going to go from that dot and you're going to make a little smile. Okay. And then it comes, this spot is about, it's about even with the one you went here. So wherever you are here, that's about where you're going to go here. Okay. And it goes down and then it goes over. Kind of like that. All right, so kind of a smile. I know it looks weird now, but it won't look weird after you get all the stuff going and happening on it. Okay. Yeah, going and happening for sure. All right. You can take a bigger paintbrush if you're painting. I got a big one like this. I'll get a little water and I'm going to paint the sky. And I'm going to go over this pinkish line a little bit because mine's pretty dark. You just have to be able to see it. And again, if you find, you know, you love skies and you want to, you know, make a sunset or change the colors, you'll be able to do it later. You can always do it later. Okay, there's that. Does that show? So with a drawing, the place I'm going to concentrate my drawing is going to be right at the line. And if I get lazy, I'm going to get lazy up at the top so that it doesn't look like there's a line there. I'm going to turn that line into the sky. Like that. Okay. Yeah, it's a little, I'll make it a little dark. I don't mind having brighter sky, but okay. And then I'm gonna, with my drawing, I'm gonna blend this kind of shell pink as well as like a brighter pink, and that'll, you know, why not? That's for fun. If you mix white, yellow, red, pink, any of those colors together, you're gonna get nice, pretty colors for your sky, no matter what. And if it gets too dark, just put some white with it or more yellow. Okay. All right, I think we're ready. We ready for the next thing? Okay, I know what we're doing. Get your, if you haven't finished, you know, that'll be an easy thing. Nothing is overlapping it. So you just always go back and do a little more with that later. All right. This is the next thing we're going to do. We're going to put a line in for the beach. And it is really, I've been trying to find a simple way to help you to figure out where this line ought to be. But I haven't been able to come up with a really simple way. In this picture, you know, the size of the sky here is, you know, that's about a quarter of the picture. This is about halfway, right? And then the beach is probably down another, you know, another quarter. Here's about a quarter. So 1 quarter, 2 quarters, 3 quarters, 4 quarters, whole picture. But if you put your mountain higher, you put your mountain lower, you know, things like that are going to get thrown off a little bit. So I think this will work, is that as long as when it comes time to do your mountain that you keep it light, it won't matter if you have more of it or less of it. It just has to stay pretty light to have it set back. So we're gonna start by make the color for the beach, and we don't need a lot of paint, but we're gonna make kind of an ochre. So what that is that you'll take some yellow, all right, it's a little bit, you don't need a ton. Take some yellow and take some of your brown and put those two together, and that makes kind of a gold. And if you like it like that, you can just use that. But I'm going to take a little bit, actually, I probably take the white from the pink because that won't hurt anything with the red in there. So I'm just going to put a little bit of white in there. And that'll give me kind of a light sandy color. Okay. So if this is 1/3, 2/3, 3/3, that's putting my beach about here. There's lots of fun stuff that happens with the lake and the reflection and stuff like that. So you don't want to have, you don't really want it to this much lake. So don't, if you think, oh no, I must be down here, I'd still bring it up. But I think it's an adjustable thing. So you're going to go as much as you can, kind of a little, don't make it too skinny because we're going to wind up painting on the top and painting on the bottom and kind of taking a little bit off of it. So it doesn't need to be a thread. All right. Lighter, darker, whatever. All right. It'll all work out fine. Everybody will get different colors. You'll get different proportions of trees, the size you made your trees, the size you made the mountain. Oh, that's a little tilty. It won't make any difference. It'll just be interesting to see how when you change something, it gives a different effect. Is that? And you might, this would be a good time to hold your picture up in front of you too and just kind of check and see if your horizontal line's relatively horizontal, because water settles flat. So if you don't care about that, then it doesn't make any difference. But if you do care about like having things seem kind of, roughly realistic, then you want to try to get that horizontal. The next thing is that we're going to fill this area in with an orange. Okay. We're going to come back later to give it the shape that it has. Okay. That dark red and stuff like that. So we're just going to paint it a basic orange just to get a coat on there. And so if you have an orange, and like if you're drawing, go ahead and use the orange that you have. But if you don't, we'll make a little orange. And this overall is kind of a darker orange. I was thinking it was lighter. So in that case, so I've got my medium brush. I've got my yellow that's sitting right here. And I'm going to take a pretty good scoop, maybe even all of this red, and I'm going to put it in there. The thing is that red is stronger than yellow. But like I said, this is pretty dark. That might be a little dark, but a little too, yeah, that's all right. But that's okay. I want it kind of dark. We're going to add a little highlight, and we're also going to go a little darker. So that should be fine. Good. We have the hardwood trees, and then we have the green softwood trees, and then we're going to have the mountain. So within this space you have here, you're going to have an orange space, an orange line and a green line, and then some blue. So just keep that in the back of your head. The green can be smaller. The bigger the orange is, the closer. There is a little space like where you take your boat in. So if you want to have that little green thing, let's leave that space now. So over here, you just make a little space like this, and then you can just kind of, I got a lot of paint on my brush, kind of just make a wiggly, curly, bumpy line. And we're just going to fill this in. And like I said, as you go along the beach, you can kind of make a smooth line. All right. And, this is, I don't know who the artist is that painted this, but I really like it because it's pretty straightforward and pretty simple in the way that it's been painted. So it's really doable for somebody that's starting out. And try not, I was thinking about this when I was walking my dogs that, you know, you want to be building some confidence. And sometimes when you see all the little details and stuff and you think that that's the way you've got to do it, is to be super detailed, then it's hard to it can be overwhelming, a little intimidating. So I like to pick these, I put a lot of effort into picking the pictures so that you can be successful, and then it's fun and you will get better, right? And then I'm going to do the same thing again with the drawing. So if you missed something, you know, I'm going to make a little gap for my green, and then I'm just going to kind of curly curl. And when I do the drawing, I'm not going to go too heavy. I don't need to, because I know I'm going to put other colors on there, but I just want to put a light coat, this kind of darkish red. If you have scarlet or something, that'd be good. Vermilion, a little bit closer to red for an orange. Something, oh, I was going to check, see if anybody, I guess I didn't get any emails, or I would have heard. Unless somebody's emailing me on the other email. I should check. Okay, same. Hey, Tori. Tori's here, you know.
Cousin Tori.
Yep. It's my niece.
Tori.
We're going to put some orange down here to be our reflection. And in this one, the amount of reflection is pretty much the same size as that. So, you know, you could make it smaller, but I'm going to go pretty far down. If the water is super still, that's when you get that mirror reflection. And as soon as the water has any waves to it, it starts changing and it starts having, like, you know, kind of a rough edge to it. If you wanted to really mirror what you've done up here, one of the things you can do is hold your paper like this, sideways. And then you can go with, I mean, obviously I already did it, but I can see this and I can go right down and mirror it, because your brain can set that up like being really opposites, where sometimes it's very hard if you're having to do it this way. But that's a little hint, is like, just turn it up sideways and you'll be able to it'll be just like you folded the paper together and opened it up, and then you had a mirror image. But you don't have to either. So the one thing is I want to try to make the water reflection, the way I painted, a little smoother, a little more, maybe a little more water, a little more side to side. Okay, you don't necessarily want to go curly and textural with it. So, you know, I've got a piece kind of right here. I'm going to go kind of side to side. I don't have to fill it all in, because I am going to put other colors in there. And then I'm going to leave a little space and put a little here. You know, it kind of goes a little lower or a little higher. All right. And when you're doing the drawing with your colored pencils, the thing that's going to happen is that later on, we're going to paint these streaks across the top. I don't want you to have to like leave that space necessarily, but go a little lighter, and then you'll probably need an eraser to pull it out. Or if you're really, you know, patient, then you can kind of leave some places that you're going to put the reflections on there. But that's a lot. All right. When I kept doing it before, I kept making the orange too light. Yeah. All right. Oh my God. What a beautiful day today. Holy moly.
Holy moly.
Wasn't it? I kept thinking I was going to be cold as the sun's, you know, the afternoon came on, and I was still really warm.
Yeah,
all right, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to do some blue on the mountains, okay? And because you're going to wind up putting this dark on top of it, like between these two things, when you paint the mountain down, you don't have to go all the way to the orange. You can, because the green will paint over the blue that you have. The only issue is it might be wet, and you don't you don't want to make your dark green light because it's mixed in with that light blue. Layering in general is good. So what I'm going to do is almost bring it to the orange, but just not quite. Okay. And we're just going to do 2 shades. We're going to have like a medium blue, which is in the shadows, and then a real light blue in the sunny parts. Okay. And like I said, the lighter you go, the better. You can always make it darker. I mean, you can always make it lighter too, but if you want your blue to be a little more gray, just put a little dab of brown in there. I'm not going to do it this time because I think it adds another step for people who have a lot of things they're thinking about. So I'm just going to use white and blue. You know, and I have this kind of medium blue. If you have lighter blue, that will make it easier for you to keep it from getting too dark, okay? All right, so I have this big white, and let me think. Okay, what I'm gonna do is take some white, and I'm gonna put it right here, and I'm gonna put a little bit of blue in at a time, that's too light. So I'll probably wind up using all of that. I'd say, you know, I probably have about a dime's worth of each color. Just gets dark really fast. This is another thing you could do is if you have any of the pink from the sky, like I have a little of that light pink, I could use a little of that because it won't hurt. It'll just make it a little more lavender, but that's a good way to use up some of that for white. The first one we're going to do is that there's kind of a triangle right here. So you're going to go to that first dot that you did. It won't go all the way to the trees, I don't think, but you're going to come down and it's just going to go a little diagonal this way. All right. With my drawing, I'm going to use my little periwinkle blue here. That's going to go kind of like that. So, you know, you're going to come over, you can go along the top here, and then you're going to come down kind of like that. You're going to have a little triangle. Okay. And you can just fill that in. You know, again, there's lots of little different shades of blue that happen on this mountain that make it look, you know, more and more mountain-like. But this will be simple. This will be just enough to have you, you know, be able to get it going. And then you can always come back and be more observant and mix up some different shades of white and blue. Right here, this whole section is darker. There's a little piece in here that's kind of in between, but for now, we're just going to do this. Okay, there's this light space here, which is here, and then we're going to put a line there. I can't tell exactly what it is, but there's going to be a space between here and here. And this one is going to go pretty much straight down, and then you go along. You know, and if you want to shape this a little differently or whatever, but then you're just going to fill this in. Oh, I'm going in the wrong place. Oh, maybe I'm not. Yeah, so I got a little, I've got a little deeper than I want, so I'm going to go over the sky. Make that up there a little higher. Okay, so I made this kind of a triangle. All right, and then right in here. Okay. So with my pastels, or if you're using colored pencils, you're gonna want to have a white. So for the what's left, we're just going to go with a lighter color and go pretty light. So what I would do is I think you have a white that's left over. You used one of your pools of white to make the sky color. Now you should have another one left over, and that's for the light part of the mountain. So just take what you have on your brush, you know, maybe a little brush full of this, and put it in there, depending on how much white you have. You know, what you're trying to do when you're mixing that paint is to kind of keep pushing it into a pile. Because if you scrub, not only do you kind of wreck your brush, but you also just paint your plate and then it just dries there. And we want to have this for later on because that's what we're going to put down on there, like the last thing we do. So I want it to be blue, but I want it to be very light. Yeah, that looks fine. Okay. You know, and this can be a little bit different height or wiggly line or whatever, but I'm just going to put that in there. So you just use that in the two pieces. And so if you're doing pastels or colored pencils, you know, hopefully you have 2 light shades of light blue, but if you don't, whatever you use for the light blue, you're just going to have to use a little of that and mix some white in with it. Or color really, really lightly, or color and put an eraser on there too. Yeah, so we got that little divot there. And then down and over. And Katahdin is so recognizable because it's very, very flat on top. Usually works pretty good. And a little bit different changes. How's yours?
Well,
You're not sure?
it's subjective, I guess.
Well, you got pretty dark sky, so it's more like a nighttime scene.
Yeah.
So maybe thing should be more of a silhouette.
I might lighten my sky a little bit. It looks like a thunderstorm.
It's pretty dark.
Okay, nice.
You know, it's hard to get everything right perfectly the first time you do it in anything you do. And a lot of times it doesn't matter, but if you want to fix it, you can always fix it. Always something you can do. I used to, when I used to do, I was always not that great at watercolors, so I would let them dry and then go in with, you know, markers or like a black pen or something like that, and just, you know, change it and give it some definition or whatever. And it's always something you can do. And then if you don't like it, you still don't like it, you put it in the recycling. So who cares, right? Yeah, I think I'm maybe go just a tiny bit lighter on the, well, oh no, that looks all right. It looks good on the screen. Okay, I'm good. I'm good. All right, I'll give you a sec. When I start seeing faces, I'll go to the next thing. We're gonna do, yeah, we're gonna do a little bit with the trees next. Looks good already.
Budamus.
Valerie, you were talking about like the hardest thing about Katahdin in terms of painting. I was thinking the hardest thing about Katahdin is hiking it.
Yes, I have not hiked Katahdin, but I want to. But I don't want to, well, I was gonna say I don't want to carry my stuff, but I don't want to sleep overnight. And everybody tells me that I have to sleep overnight in a campground before. I don't want to.
There's hotels.
I don't want to pack to do that. I don't like packing. I don't want to camp outside. I don't want
No, you're close enough. You drive up, you have to just leave really early in the morning.
Well, you know what? I need to get somebody to take me because my family always is trying to talk me out of it.
No, I said I would go. I just don't know if that's the first hike you want to start out with after having. When was the last time you hiked a mountain? Have you ever hiked a mountain? You know,
I used to hike up a mountain when I was pregnant with you guys.
Well, that was Bradbury State Park. 28 years
Yeah,
ago.
Bradbury Mountains.
It's like a walking trail.
Well, usually you have to drink beer and hike at the same
There's
time,
other
so I had
mountains
to
that
like
have
limit my
Really
hikes.
nice views.
I don't even like that word hike. I like going on a walk. All right, okay. I bet Tori would go with me. Have you done it, Tori? Have you
I
done?
haven't. No, not yet.
You haven't? All right, me and you.
Okay, sounds good. I don't like to pack a lot either.
Good. Okay, we'll get up early, or we'll stay up all night and then we'll do it. No, we won't do that. Okay. All right. The next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna make a dark red. Okay. If you're drawing, you have maroon, purple. If not, some kind of darker red, then you could just go with that. If not, I'm gonna use my sienna, so I'm gonna use a brown. Okay, so if you're drawing, you're gonna use a brown. I've got my medium-sized brush. I have a little bit of blue and a little bit of red together. I'm gonna use less blue just because blue is very strong. So I'm gonna put a little bit of blue in my red. And you know, technically that makes purple, but the more, if it's a little heavy on the red side, it makes maroon. Maroon, what's another way? Dark red, Tuscan red, I don't know. Oh, wait a minute. Oh yeah, that is what I want to do. If it's too, this is pretty purple, which is fine. But if it's too purple for you, you could take a little bit of brown, put that in there too. It just basically needs something dark. That's how we're gonna get the shape. So what's happening is, you know, down at the shoreline, you know, there might be bushes, which maybe if we get to it, we'll have a little spotty, we'll do a little of that. But underneath the trees, it's all dark, okay? Then they come up and then they bump out like this and they catch light on the top and maybe out on the front a little bit. But the rest of it, we're thinking in terms of getting the underside of these trees and then how there's going to be almost the idea kind of like a crescent moon where the little curves that are all going to curve in the same, kind of in the same direction. Saying that, I don't know, this wouldn't really happen, so I think that's the light coming from the north, but so that they're hitting all the trees at this angle and you're going to have the dark coming from this side. First thing I'm going to do with my maroon is to take it right along. Oh, that's a lot of paint. Hang on. Okay. I'm going to put it right along here. It's pretty dark. Bring it right along my beach, and that's what's going to make my beach look really sunny too. All right. And then probably pretty dark, like right in this part. And all I want to do is to take that purple line and kind of brush it up into the trees without covering them. So start like this and kind of brush, maybe brush this one up quite a bit, maybe brush a little bit less. And you're kind of thinking about, you know, like on this one where it's kind of a big bump, I'm going to go like kind of up to the top. I would say don't use too much paint. You know, if you're heavy-handed and that's your style, then that's great. But I mean, I love it. But when you're trying to control what you're doing, a whole bunch of paint can kind of make it hard. So if you're finding that, I don't think that people are really having that problem. The only person who does that is Veronica. That's in this group. We don't have some of the other heavy-handed painters.
Brown?
Purple, maroon. Well, you should have a little red and some blue next to each other. Put a little bit of blue in your red.
Sure.
So kind of like that. Maybe not, you know, all exactly the same size or whatever, but yeah, you know, figuring out all of those things, how to mix your colors, what brush to use, how much paint to use. You know, those are all the things, the same, but if you keep using the same paint, you keep using the same brushes, you keep using the same paper or canvas, it'll start to make sense, and you'll skip having to think about that because you just automatically know how much paint you need and things like that. All right, the other place I'm going to put that purple is like right along the bottom of my beach. All right, that's my reflection. And you know, you can make your beach as thin as you want it to be. You know, the lighter it is in this dark scene, the brighter it's going to stand out like it does on this one. All right. There. There. Maybe a little heavier right on the beach. Well, maybe you got sick from the camping trip.
No, I'm sorry. Nobody had it.
Well, I guess you didn't make anybody there.
I could easily give it to him.
Yeah, I know, that's scary. All right. All right, I'm gonna put a little more of this on here. Okay. All right, now I gotta make sure I do the next step right because I tried it a bunch of different. We're gonna do a little more with the trees. So we're gonna put, the thing you want now is you've got a middle value, you've got a dark value, and that what you want are 3 values on it whenever you're doing anything. Was it like a bottle that you're painting or a face you're painting, or you're painting some trees? So we want to highlight. You're going to probably put the highlight on and then also put a little more of this orange color. And this, in putting a little more of this orange just over the dark one, is going to tie it together. It's just like, well, those of you that last week did the basket of apples, and we used all this brown all over the place where the shadows were going to go, and then we painted over and the brown kind of shows through. So the same thing is happening with this, is that it's not necessarily want to paint next to it. We want to go over that so that it kind of, you know, just gives it things shape without it being this dark color. Okay, so especially if you have a color that you're like, I don't know, this is crazy. This is what we'll help you. So you want, you know, you want to still have some of that orange and red that you started with. Hopefully you still have some left. You don't need a ton, but you want some. And then what I think you should still have a yellow. So take some of that orange, or just take a little tiny bit of red, okay? And put that, not too much, right in your yellow. And again, it's probably going to be pretty strong. Put enough in so that your yellow turns orange. You know, it's not just barely, but not too much, okay? And so then what I'm going to do, and whatever I do here, I just want to, you know, say I put a little bit of orange up here. I want to put a little bit of it down here, even if it doesn't show. You just want to have kind of have that there. Okay. All right. So I'll put this bright orange up here, which you probably can't see that well. Okay, maybe fill that in. And then I could wipe my brush if there's a lot left. And then I can take this other one and kind of put the one we started with, kind of put it over the purple a little bit. You know, and you're just basically giving everything a second coat, third coat. Just have a little fun with it, okay? Because, you know, if I block this off and blocked this off, and you looked at that, it doesn't look like trees, but we know what it is, because we know that round things that turn red that are by a mountain are trees. It's a symbol of it. So it doesn't have to look like, you know, every little tree, right? It's about the color, okay? And see how I'm kind of working in that darker orange, like over that dark purpley, maroony color, and that kind of blends it in there. And it will be the kind of thing that from a distance, ooh, like in my picture on my screen, it looks way better. Looks way better than it does up close. Okay, did you just imitate me? And then side to side, little bit, side to side down here. You still have the red and the orange that you started with. How much did you drink out at lunch today?
The disrespect. I don't understand what you mean. That's the original color you had.
No, I have this one that I started out that I kind of put them in the first time, and then I made this lighter one. So I still have
mine
both.
just started out a lot lighter probably than it should have.
Oh, okay. Well, then just add more red. Just there's red right in front of you. Add it to your plate, and then just put that in there. Yeah, you know. Yeah, a little red, just the way that it is. I mean, this is. While you're doing that, I'm gonna. So I have this nice, bright orangey color. I'm gonna put on these. You're just creating an illusion. You're not really trying to trick people into thinking that this is actually trees. You're just creating an illusion.
Ugly, like house looking things. Want everything she has. Everyone got to hear that. Trying to clarify that. something of a show. In this moment of silence. It's not good. It's not good. Desist. Cease and desist. It goes amazing.
All right. By the way, I illustrated a book that took place on a lake called Millinocket Lake. Lake Millinocket? I never get it right. What's the normal way? Lake Millinocket? I always say it wrong. Called The Fishing Trip, and it had pictures of Katahdin all through it in the background. So yeah. So like, yeah.
So yeah, buy it.
So I don't even know that you can buy it, but what's the point of making a book that you don't sell? All right.
We all
Of-
know.
That the main character is your ex-husband.
Yeah,
I don't know.
that.
I don't know. Catharsis. The next thing we're gonna do is the green, okay? And we're gonna do the green down in the water first, because after we do that, we're gonna put these reflections on, these highlight reflections, which is really comes out kind of cool. We're gonna do this first, and then we'll do the trees, okay? We'll talk about the trees in a minute. So what you need is your green, a dark green, and I would put a little brown in it. That's what's going to make it a little more of a forest green, no matter what it is. If you don't have green, then you're going to have to make a green. So, and we want it to be on the dark side. So in this case, you can probably put the yellow in the blue. Most of the time we put the blue into the yellow because blue is so strong and yellow is weak, but I definitely want it darker, and I don't have yellow left, so I need another squirt of yellow. Last, when I did the recording, when I edited, I realized that I said, okay, I think 100,000 times in a video. I need a new thing to say. Okay.
Off to a good start.
All right, so I'm going to mix the blue and the yellow together to make myself a green. It's very bluish, but it's green enough. And then I'll take a nice bit of brown. And make yourself enough paint because you're going to need it for more than one spot. I don't think we need this brown really for anything else, so go ahead and use that. But something, you want to keep it dark. That's sort of the whole deal. This is a very, very, very dark. And it has some highlights on it, but it's very, very dark. Okay. So look, mine looks like that. All right. When you mix your paint with your brush, you get it all over your brush. And if you want to have any control, you want to get rid of some of it. So either wipe it on your plate or wipe it on your cloth a little bit, especially the smaller the brush you're using. All right, get a little water, and I'm going to start in this little space right in here. I'm just going to paint side to side. And, I can overlap the orange a little bit and everything too, okay? Well, we've done a lot of different like water things, I think. So everybody's getting their own style of doing water. And it may be a little, see-through at first. It might, but it probably doesn't matter. But a quick second coat is always good. Yeah, it's pretty poopy looking. Yeah, actually one of my students today we made this horrible color on for her painting, and it was kind of like this. And she said they ate something, her whole entire family, and then like kind of sheepishly admitted to each other that they all had like this. Yeah, it was from something like maybe blue dye. I think sometimes it's like, those cakes that you get, like a Costco cake or something, the dye in that. There. Ooh, that's not quite as dark as I want. Let me get them on there. And then I told her about that way back when you guys were babies. The IGA would make loaves of bread and like rolls at Christmas time that were dyed red and green. It's literally like a regular white bread. And you were at your dad's and your poop was red. And they got all like freaked out. They were gonna take it to the doctor. And I was like, what? Because it used to be things like
It's just the Christmas bread.
it was just the Christmas bread. And then Tori ate the whole box of crayons. Rainbows.
Yummy.
Like a unicorn.
Yeah,
You could tell there was like a very healthy diet she was being raised on if she thought eating a crayon was delicious.
Yeah.
All right, from that, we're gonna put these trees on here. And if you're just starting out, you don't know what you're doing, if you just paint up and down along the mountain, it will look like fir trees. You don't really have to put in all kinds of tree tops, but we'll put in just the jig jags up there and then put in a couple of tree tops just for those of you that are, going a little careful.
Oh. I was like,
Oh, is this my plasmatic song?
I don't know.
Okay, so one thing you may have to do is go around the top of the tree a little bit. And ultimately the tree is in front, so I kind of had an issue trying to figure out whether we should do the green first or the trees first. But I wanted you to be able to have those trees not get the green in there and make it dull. But we may have to touch them up. This is really wet, dry, okay? So if you have a little rough and like a brush that's got all mashed up, that makes a great one for making the trees. And this green can be a lot because it's kind of like the green forest is starting to go up the hill. So it's not just tall trees behind the red ones. It's kind of an embankment, I think. So you can bring that up as high as you want to.
The first one that you're gonna watch, you're watching it. I've seen. Yeah, that's what it's on. That's the one I started, which is a very good start. Fitting painfully have to get like an awful Shrek movie. Shrek.
Did you say Shrek?
Sorry, not Shrek. Dog. Oh, I was like, I was close. Yeah, I guess.
There. All right, I gotta do a little on.
And you still gotta watch it. It's good. Wait, what you want to do? You do. There's a couple that I haven't seen. I've seen Wallace. Yeah. I haven't seen like Jordan's seen them all. Yes. I haven't seen like the original two.
One thing you might want to do with the green is if you get it on there and then you look and it looks like it's exactly the same height all the way across, not that it wouldn't be, you just kind of, you can't make it smaller in one place. You can just, add on to, one place that makes the other one look smaller. And that'll just kind of give it a little variation.
Yeah, I haven't seen the original. Yeah.
There. With pastels and colored pencils too, sometimes it makes sense to use your finger to kind of fill in or to blend the colors a little bit. There. If you want to have that little like tree that pokes up at the top, don't go too high, like don't go up over your mountain, because that's going to make your red trees look like bushes, because it's going to be way out of proportion. So just a little bit, you just kind of bring one up a little bit. And the one thing you need is to have that piece in the middle that sticks up. So if you make that line and then you bring all your branches right up to the very top so that it looks like a triangle, just like say I do this, say I fill it all the way in, which is okay, but the last thing you do again is just drag that little middle up a little bit more. That little place where you put the star on top. You can always just, put it back up there. Do that. That's one way of doing it. You can make that line and just kind of make it little, looks like it's a thing by the side of the road. Telephone pole. Kind of that idea. And then just kind of keep thickening it up until it makes sense. Okay. And sometimes the fir tree's branches go off like a V, it's kind of herringbone, and sometimes they go out to the side, and some they go down. So, and then the pine trees, they have more of a like rounded thing that happens. So, but you don't need it. Just having the green there, it makes sense. It's readable. All right. Anything you do that makes it just a little uneven, I think that's okay. Is that okay? Yeah. All right. We are going to get this baby finished up. 2 things to do. That's it. One is the reflections of the sky. I think in the original picture, there's no pink ones. They're blue, but I couldn't tell because the sky was blue in that one, and I didn't know whether they were thinking that this was reflecting the mountain or reflecting the sky. So frankly, you can pick any color you have up there. And what you're going to do is you're just going to get a nice glob of paint on your brush. You may need to add a little water in there. You don't want it too dry brush, and you're just going to drag it. And when it stops, when you run out of paint, just take your hand off. Don't pet, brush, because it's supposed to be a little almost chalky or something like that, so that it really is sitting on top. It's not supposed to blend into the water. All right. And if you're just barely keeping up and you haven't got, like, I can't do that or whatever, one of the things you can do is check out the Facebook page later. You'll see some of the ones that other people did, and, use their, learn from their successes or their mistakes, and try it then too. If you paint it on there and you really hate it, you can paint over it by doing the colors, but it will, it'll take a little bit of effort because it'll be light and everything's done. All right. So I have quite a bit of this light blue, so that's what I'm going to use. And the other thing that would happen, this is great. This one runs right from one side to another. There's a little short, skinny one above it. The heavier ones probably would be lower to the page, and you could just do one, see how it looks, let it grow on you, and then add more if you want to. All right. So I added a little water to my light blue. I'm using the really light one, the one that I have here. Okay. And I'm just going to take that, maybe not smack in the middle, maybe a little above. And I'm just going to bring that across, maybe roll it a little bit. Oh. All right. Maybe I fill in. Just don't brush. Okay. Maybe like there's that little piece right that's up there. I've got my brush kind of held real low. And I can roll it with my thumb and my fingers a little bit. You don't have to. Start here, and maybe something down here in the green. Okay. And then I have a little bit of pink left. So let me just try a pink one, see how that comes out. So I got a little water, put that on my pink. If I get a little left on there. Anything would work. I mean, you could do the same thing too with orange. You know, who says that you're not reflecting the bright oranges on there either? Maybe I'll put something of this like right here. That's kind of wet. Okay, but the idea is that it's, you know, right on the surface catching the light. Oh, and so then if you're drawing, you know, kind of what you want is a little, the way to make it show up is the darker that's around it. You know, and I left a little bit in here. Let's see. If you can cross over from the orange reflection through the green, that's a great way to kind of show that it's sitting on top because it's not being affected by the change in colors. Let's see, maybe I might be able to get a little white on there. I don't know if this will work great, but you know, the darker I go around, you know, if I go right, if I have like a white streak and I go very, very dark right around it, that's what's going to make that really show up. If there's lots of light, first is that. I might even put a little green right along the edge of this. Okay. The other last thing to do is there's a little bit of a few tree trunks. Okay. You want to use the smallest brush that you have. I have a really little one because it's very little. If you don't have a tiny, tiny brush, the back of your brush, the stick end, that can work, or a toothpick. It hardly holds any paint, but you can always use it for that too. It doesn't have to be this. These are pretty light. They don't have to be light. We want a gray, all right? Or you could take some of your green and put it with a little bit of the like sky color or the pink, okay? You could also, let's see, take a little brown. I could put that in this blue here. That would work out all right too. The color doesn't really matter. You just want something, like you probably don't want red tree trunks. I mean, maybe you do. And if I've mixed up my paint with my tiny brush, before I do anything, I want to wipe it off because I don't want all that paint. I want it like this. And what I would do is start at the bottom and kind of brush up. Okay, so I have this kind of medium color. It'll look different, but it won't. You don't want black necessarily. You don't want white necessarily. Something in between. But all I need to do, like say this is my tree, is I can just like, oh, that is kind of blue. Put a little, not the whole way, just a little here and there. You could also try it with the brown, which would probably blend in pretty well, and you can kind of get a better feel for how you're doing it before you do too much, but it's kind of light. I don't know, I'm doing all right with this grayish color. And what happens is, the one thing you don't want to do is like it's a ruler and one here, one here, one here, one here. You want to put 3 of them close to each other, leave a space, put another couple. All right. You don't have to do this part either if you don't want to. You can think about it. All right. What I have to do, because I made that first one just really too big, is I need to take a little orange and pat that back on there. Okay. So, you know, I can go back there and add red right over this, make them go away if I don't like them. Okay. On your colored pencil, you probably can find something small. If you're using pastel, sometimes a little a real pencil can work pretty good. It might look weird up close, but it usually looks pretty good from a distance. And then you start thinking about it when you're looking in a field and you see the trees in the distance, see how you can see all those tree trunks with all the rest of the greenery and stuff like that. One of the other little things you can do is, if I want, or maybe a green would be good. If I want to pet in here a little bit, right along the shoreline, it starts to look like there's little bushes getting caught, catching a little bit of light. And that, you know, you can do a lot of that, a little of that, different colors, you know, yellow, you know, even the green. You could put in, you know, little fir tree up in that's right by the beach. This is a pretty good one to kind of start having an idea how to do a forest that's like thick, because it's really, we all see it and we oh, it's beautiful, I really want to paint that, but it's like, I know I didn't know how to do it. You know, you tend to want to make everything all separated, but it's really just a big blob, right? Thank you so much for drawing painting with me tonight. I look forward to seeing your pictures. It's very fun. If you want any feedback, just ask me.
This is awful.
This is awful. My mom.
Hey, shut up, Remy. Such a Debbie.
Oh my goodness, Elizabeth, I love those colors. Awesome. Okay, ready? 3, 2, 1. Look at them all, so cute. Yeah, so you know, as always, is a whole bunch of, oh, I know, I was gonna ask people to like and subscribe my YouTube channel, because, and then it's like good for me to like get more people to see them and stuff like that.
Thank you, Valerie.
Thank you.
Good night. I hope you
Bye.
enjoyed it. I
Us
love
too,